Hello, welcome back to Horizons Gaming. My name is Ben, and today we're going to continue on Suzerain. The last time out, we had a rather ominous conversation with Lilius in prison, and had an entertaining afternoon at the Alliance of Nations, culminating with a kind of passionate speech from President Rain. So, let's pick up where we left off here. Looks like we've got a couple reports and a newspaper article. So let's see what's going on here. Alright. ATO modernizes Swordland Air Force. The Air Force General has been working tirelessly along with their ATO counterparts to modernize our Air Force. The regiment's training have been changed to include more maneuvering exercises as well as nighttime bombing training. Our warplanes have been retrofitted with the latest technology radar systems and cutting-edge bombs transported from Arcasia. General Staff reports that the Swordfish Air Force has never been in a better condition. Nice, kinda. Alright. And election poll results. With the election drawing near, our staff at the Maroon Palace has conducted general election polls all across Swordland. Our election polls show that roughly 27% of Swordfish citizens would prefer to vote for the USP in the upcoming election. I don't know if that's a good number or not. I mean, we have multiple parties, so maybe it's not bad, but I don't think that's good. But whatever. Alright, let's go to Geopolitico, and they're just laughing at that total nutsack old man who's us. We're going to shoot around. Chancellor Hagel's disgrace at Alliance of Nations. Alliance of Nations' latest session has ended with many important takeaways. However, the highlight of the gathering was without a doubt Chancellor Hagel. In a display of shameful behavior, Chancellor Hagel has repeatedly interrupted the Agnolian Prime Minister Van Horten and went so far as to require the intervention of the Speaker. We'd like to remind that this was a meeting of the leaders of the world, not a village council. As long as this type of behavior continues, how can we ever expect a peaceful and level-headed resolution for the Helluland issue? No kidding, that old dude is totally off his nut. Nice, okay. So, I guess let's go meet up with David. David had scheduled a private meeting with me, but he didn't specify what it was about. I heard a knock on the door.
Hey, Mr. President, may I come in?
Yes, David, please come in.
Thank you.
And he slowly made his way towards the chair in front of my desk and sat down.
First of all, thank you for your time.
Yeah, anything for you, David.
I wanted to ask how you're doing.
Honestly, I'm tired, David. I'm tired of all of it.
Oh, I know the feeling. Trust me, I know. Sometimes you just want to throw away all the responsibility and escape. Perhaps into the wilderness, perhaps to the sea.
That would be nice, wouldn't it? But I could never do that.
Unfortunately, men of power are bound by duty and their responsibility to the nation.
He started coughing.
What a privilege for me. I had the chance to watch my student grow into a fine and strong leader in my lifetime. What a privilege indeed. You tried your best to bring reform to Swordland. That's valiant in itself. It's okay to feel frustrated by failure, but change, unfortunately, doesn't happen easily. You paved a path for future generations to follow, and they'll remember you for it.
That's right. I will do whatever I can to leave a good world for the ones who come after us.
Yeah, it's the spirit. Can't be sulking about our failures for too long, otherwise we'll spiral into despair. This country doesn't need any more despair.
David coughed again, this time for longer. Guessing the old man's dying.
I overheard a conversation the other day near a newspaper stand. It piqued my interest, so I kept listening. They were talking about you. They were calling you a radical centrist. What do you think about that?
I mean, they weren't wrong. I kind of am a centrist. Yeah, you got an achievement for that.
My father, Arthur Esvish, used to say, always know yourself. It's good to know that you do. So, the elections are fast approaching. How are you feeling about your chances?
I can't say for sure, but I'm hopeful.
Good, that's what a leader should say. I'm afraid I have an announcement to make to you.
Why? What's wrong?
After the term is done, I will be retiring.
Let's go with this one. David, I can't accept this. You're irreplaceable in my cabinet.
I've been in this line of work for many decades now. I swore an oath to myself years ago. I would quit if I ever felt like I didn't have the physical capability to serve anymore. At that point, I had become a hindrance. That time has come, Mr. President. My bones are aching, my hands are shaking, my voice is failing. Besides, I'm sure you can find a younger minister who's a little more full of life.
He winked at me and chuckled, which turned into another cough. You've been a mentor, a teacher, and a friend. Thank you for your service to this country.
It was an honor, Mr. President.
David stood up to leave. We hugged.
Best of luck, Anton. Thank you.
He turned around and left. Yeah, it's certainly sad to see him go, but, I mean, dude's getting old. He deserves a nice retirement. Alright. Got a journal update here. Oh, just, David saying he's retiring. Nice. Alright, let's go to the news here. We've got a whole bunch of them again. Alright, whole sword post. President's impeachment trial date set. After weeks of preliminary hearings, President Rain's impeachment trial date has been set. His case will be heard by the Supreme Court mid-October, just prior to the election. Given the president's disgraceful behavior while in office, his day is long overdue. We look forward to the moment when the court finally brings Rain to justice. Of course, the Nazis would say that, you know. Starting today, impeachment witnesses' reliability called into question. As President Rain's impeachment trial approaches, Sutherland today has obtained exclusive reports cast doubt on the reliability of the so-called witnesses who will be testifying. There is reason to believe that many of the government officials asked to provide evidence against Rain have personal vendettas against the president or were bribed by Rain's enemies to give false testimony. This trial is nothing but a sham meant to bring an ignoble end to the best presidency Sutherland has ever had. Alright, and from the Radical. President to be dethroned? At long last, President Rain, the most notorious abuser of power since Sarkeen Sol himself, is set to be impeached for his criminal misdeeds. The Supreme Court will be hearing his case this month with a group of witnesses from inside Rain's administration to testify. If the prosecution is successful, Rain will be the first president to be impeached from his office, and rightly so. What criminal misdeeds? I mean, I could be forgetting something, but I don't know, whatever. People's Front storm coming strong, jeez. The new political force of Sutherland, the People's Front, is showing a great increase in the polls as the elections approach. This fresh alliance between the WPB and CPS should give every sort of citizen hope. This trend continues, we may finally see a left-wing coalition come into power. Yeah, I kind of doubt it. But it's between Nazis and communists, so it's a good clash going here. Alright, geopolitico. Swordish's foreign minister retires. David Vichy, Sutherland's foreign minister, has announced he'll be retiring at the end of President Anton Rain's first term. Son of Sutherland's first president, Vichy has enjoyed a long and fruitful diplomatic career and served as something as a mentor to President Rain during his student days. The Rain administration has not yet announced a potential replacement for Mr. Vichy, should Rain be elected to a second term. I mean, we should probably get elected first before we go worrying about our cabinet, but, you know, whatever. And last but not least, Rumberg possesses nuclear weapons. During the Alliance of Nations session, President Rain has claimed that Rumberg possessed nuclear weapons. Today, the investigation committee tasked by AN has found evidence President Rain was in fact saying the truth. Rumberg has nuclear weapons. So what does this mean for Eastern Marcopa? In the region, Rumberg has always been one of the strongest military powers, and also one of the most threatening, which secures them the position of being a key player. Possession of nuclear weapons by such a country not only threatens their neighbors and longtime rivals, Swordsland, but also nations that are farther away from their immediate reach. Rumberg's new status as nuclear power will make them a force to be reckoned with. The balance of the world is about to change once again. Nice, okay. So yeah, this feels like it's going to be heading to a not very pretty end, but that's right, we'll see what happens here. Alright, so our report is Marcel Caronti endorsed President Rain. Swordish media mogul and businessman Marcel Caronti has officially endorsed us to be the next president of Swordsland. With Mr. Caronti's wide-ranging connections and new media power, we expect more votes in the upcoming election. That's nice. We have to beat this impeachment charge first. Alright, got another report here on the existence of nuclear weapons in Rumberg. And intelligence confirmed the information from the Rumbergian whistleblower was true. Rumberg does have nuclear weapons capable of threatening Sutherland and Eastern Marcopa. The Alliance of Nations ratified a barrage of sanctions on Rumberg by the member states. Cool. Well, that last part wasn't in the newspaper, so that's fantastic. Alright. And I guess we're gonna go hang out in our office for a little bit here. The door opened and Lucien entered.
Mr. President, there is a problem.
What is it now?
Mr. Pennywell wants to speak with you. He's in the White Room. Please follow me.
He started walking. Do you know what it's about? Yeah, it hasn't been a problem talking with Pascal before.
I was just told to come get you, sir.
I opened the doors and we entered the White Room. I looked around. Pascal looked incredibly stressed. He wiped off his sweat. What's going on here?
Mr. President,
I'm here to let you know that I will be handing you my resignation shortly. Your resignation? What's the meaning of this? Exactly what it looks like. I'm resigning from my position in the cabinet. I simply cannot go on anymore after what happened. But why? What are your reasons? What the hell happened, dude? I suppose I owe you an explanation. Even though you acted against the epidemic which saved millions of souls, I cannot and will not stand with your abuse of power. The things you did behind closed doors shook me to my bones when the news came to my knowledge. You may have your reasons, Mr. President, that is for the greater good. But the same line of reasoning will simply lead to more atrocious actions. I will hand you my resignation once such time is done, Mr. President. I took a breath. Looked at Pascal's determined face. I'm more confused as to what the hell I did, but okay. I guess I have no choice but to accept. Pascal and Lucien left, and I took a seat alone in the White Room. Okay, seriously, just what in the hell is going on here? Alright, so I now have 2 empty seats in my cabinet, which is cool. It's just saying Pascal resigned, I assume. Yep. Alright. Newspaper's gonna be someone ripping us for that. Yep, Lockhaven Times, Future of Rain's cabinet. Following last week's resignation from the cabinet, eyes turn to President Rain as his term is approaching its end. No selections for the vacant seat have been announced yet, however. The timing bears some questions about the stability of the administration. This is, without a doubt, going to have an impact on the election as President Rain is gearing up towards his possible second term. Brilliant. Alright, well, just keep the hits coming here. I'm going to have dinner home now. With my impeachment trial looming, I'd practically been sleeping at the Marine Palace lately, but tonight I made a deliberate effort to get home early. I told Monica and Deanna I wanted a family supper, just like in the old days. Monica had promised to cook something special. I didn't know if it was my imagination, but there seemed to be more guards outside my complex than usual. I hurried past them, went inside, and locked the front door behind me. I heard footsteps coming my way. Hi, Papa. I opened my arms and embraced my daughter. She hugged me back happily. How was school today? Deanna shrugged. I won a prize at the science fair. Honestly, I think they're teaching girls different stuff because they knew they were smarter than boys. You might be right. Deanna smiled. Mom isn't there. I do some homework for dinner. I followed her with my eyes. She went upstairs. She was starting to look more and more like her mother. Stepped into the kitchen. Monica was stirring a pot on the stove, her back turned to me. It smells delicious. Monica whirled around in surprise. She realized it was me, and she smiled and gave me a kiss on the cheek. Sorry, Anton. I guess I've been on edge lately. Why don't you go fix yourself a drink in the room? I'll let you know when dinner's ready. Sat down in the living room, poured myself a bit of whiskey, and flipped through one of Monica's women's magazines. Deanna came rushing back downstairs and made a beeline for the coffee table. She picked up her pencil case. Almost forgot that. Frank never took his studies so seriously. He does now. Papa, is it true how you got in the whole sort of state? Would you do that for me too? Just keep studying so we don't have to find out. Monica appeared in the doorway. She smiled to us. Dinner's ready. 3 of us gathered around the dining room table. Monica ladled out bowls full of zabla. The stew tasted as good as it smelled. Now that we're all here, I wanted to say something. I know the past 4 years have been hard on all of us. I was so busy focusing on the needs of the Sorge people that I sometimes forgot about Sorland's most important people, my own wife and daughter. I hope someday we'll be able to put this behind us, be a normal family again. Monica's eyes were shining. Good question. I don't know if I really want to just run away from the country. And I don't know if I really want to retire. This is a tough question. Okay. That was a hard choice. I had to take a second there to think about it. So my logic here is we've definitely made some enemies, so getting out of Dodge might not be a bad idea. And by the same token, we're probably not going to get reelected, so just retiring is also not a bad idea. But at the same time, I honestly just want to see what's going to happen here, so we're going to go with the last option. Once the election's over, I'm taking you both on holiday. Monica sighed heavily. Well, Anton, I think you should quit politics, not just drop out of the election. Retire. I mean, honestly, I've been having similar thoughts. With everything that's happened, I don't think you belong in government. And every day you stay there gives your opponents more chances to smear your reputation, and ours. They've been making fun of me at school because of you, Papa. You being president has been easy on none of us. Maybe we go back to the way things were before. Okay. I'll let time to consider that, and... Yeah, okay. Okay. You made your point, I'll retire. Monica gave me a look of gratitude. I truly think it's for the best. Tiana still looked confused. Does that mean we're not going to live here anymore? I mean, we could stay here, but we don't have to. We can do whatever we want. As I spoke, I felt like a weight was lifting from my shoulders. I knew I'd made the right choice. I'm still going to keep fighting for women's rights, no matter who wins the election. And I won't stop fighting for causes I believe in too. From a distance. Monica and I smiled at each other. Cool, that'll be an adventure. We finished dinner now. Of course. The three of us dug into our food, started talking about what we'd do once I was no longer president. When we were done, I went up to my study and started drafting my retirement speech. Alright, well, not quite where I meant to go with that, but honestly, probably makes the most sense from a family perspective to just say, forget it. Alright, so the journal is Pascal retiring and us retiring. Let's check the newspaper here before we continue. The Radical, hope is not lost. In today's Communist Party rally, the CPS leader Dennis Stoller made a speech to the largest crowd he ever assembled. Tens of thousands came together in Volgan to give their support to the CPS leadership. In his speech, they may have censored us from the press, bullied us on the streets, took our votes away from us, but hope is not lost. They may have arrested us, tortured us, and killed us, but they could never silence us. This year, CPS will form the government and I will transform this nation, said Stoller. Cool. Alright, well, let's continue on. Sometime later. Okay, so it looks like we just have the one story beat here. Oh, fantastic. Impeachment trial of Anton Rain. I took a deep breath and opened the grand doors leading to the Supreme Court. There were no camera flashes this time, no journalists or reporters. Nobody was allowed in the courtroom except the people related to my case. The attendees watched me quietly as I walked down the aisle to the defendant's table. I took a seat and everyone followed suit. Quiet chatter began in the courtroom, which continued until the door behind the podium opened. The court clerk entered and ordered everyone to rise for the judges. I rose from my seat. Supreme Court justices entered and took their seats one by one. I looked at Chief Justice Orso Hawker. After he was seated, he pulled out his reading glasses and quickly rifled through the documents in front of him. I mean, we tried to oust these guys from power, so this is not going to end well for us. He put down the papers and looked at me. This court is now in session. You may be seated. Jeez. I call the case of impeachment charges against the President of Solvent. Case number is 385372.
This case will proceed as follows.
Jeez, that's bad. I'm going with it.
Both parties will have the opportunity to present their evidence. The prosecution will be called upon first, followed by the defendants. After both parties present their claims, the court will present its final verdict on this case. This court now summons Nia Morgan to present the evidence.
Nia Morgan, the Minister of Justice and head of the Anti-Corruption Police, entered the room. She barely looked at me as she took her place before the judges.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I was a fool to trust you.
I could say the same, Mr. President, but don't worry, justice will be served today.
Nia approached the table next to mine and sat down with a large stack of papers.
As head of the Anti-Corruption Police, I have been tasked by President Rain to root out and eliminate corruption in the government. During our investigations, we found dire incriminating evidence against Mr. President himself. I, being a member of the cabinet and having worked with the defendant for many years, do not want to believe what I heard and saw, if the evidence cannot be ignored. I have dedicated my life to the pursuit of justice, and that dedication has led me to a position of utmost responsibility. I am obligated to uphold my ideals by revealing the reality behind Anton Rain, the President of Solvent. Hard work and dedication to justice are acknowledged and appreciated by the members of this court, Miss Mulder.
Thank you, Your Honor. I hereby present the following allegations against Anton Rain. By the President's order, we began a probe into the powerful media mogul Marcel Caronti. We found that shortly after Mr. Rain took office, Mr. Caronti offered the President what amounted to government control of Solvent's major media in exchange for special protections for his conglomerate, Harv Solvent. The President accepted. Needless to say, this deal is a horrifying breach of democratic values. We found evidence of background dealings related to the privatization of Solvent's national corporations. Before the shares of privatization could go on the public market, President Rain granted them directly to Marcel Caronti. This is a criminal offense. As you can see, there is substantial incriminating evidence against Anton Rain. As a man holding the highest office in this country, he should be a shining example of democracy. Instead, he has abused his position for his own personal gain and discredited Solvent's democratic ideals. I hope this court sees the ugly truth and relieves Anton Rain from his presidency once and for all. Thank you. I'm just not going to say anything. I sat there, quietly seething. Loud chatter started spreading through the courtroom.
Silence. Silence in the court. Thank you, Miss Mulder. You may leave the courtroom.
Neil gathered her documents and left the table.
This court now summons Lucien Gallard to present his evidence.
Lucien Gallard, my chief strategist, walked in, making a conscious effort to avoid my gaze.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Lucien sat down at the table. Let's go this one. I didn't think you'd stoop so low. He gave me a small, humorless smile before turning his attention to the judges.
Your Honor, dear attendees. I worked alongside Anton Rain for many years, and I've seen firsthand how he treats the office of President. Some of the orders he gave me were completely atrocious and utterly undemocratic. Unfortunately, I had no choice but to obey. The President told me that if I failed to carry out his orders, my life would be in danger.
I don't remember ever saying such a thing. Bullshit.
Silence in the court. Mr. Gallard, please continue. Thank you, Your Honor. His underhanded and criminal ways were certainly grounds for impeachment. Today, I wish to clean my conscience by aiding in the removal of this rogue president from his post. Thank you for your honesty, Mr. Gallard. Thank you, Your Honor. I wish to present my evidence now. I was personally present when the President attended a secret backroom meeting in Conrad. This meeting was with Marcel Caronti, the CEO of Harv Solvent. He offered a deal to President Rain, an unlawful one, in return for special protections from the Swedish government. He would effectively skew all major media in the President's favor. I begged Mr. Rain not to accept. Despite my warnings, he eagerly took the deal. The results are all too apparent.
Spew your lies as much as you want. Your day will come too.
Silence in the court. Mr. Gallard, please continue. I provided the court with voice recordings of said meeting as well as the full transcripts.
Court assistant brought out a tape recorder and pressed play. I couldn't believe it. I heard Lucien's voice begging me not to accept Marcel's deal, and myself angrily overriding him. This definitely wasn't how it happened. Providing false evidence is a crime, Lucien.
Silence! My personal investigations have shown up shocking news about President Rain's seemingly perfect family. His son, Frank Rain, is currently studying at Wholesale State University. During a meeting with Minister of Education Sarah Waller, I came across a list of university exam marks received by the children of government officials. My curiosity got the better of me. I found Frank Rain's scores. They disqualified him from nearly every university in the country, let alone Wholesale State, so I followed the trail. Found out that the president abused his power to grant his son acceptance to Wholesale State University.
He held up a paper.
This is the list I mentioned, as well as the enrollment information from the university. This is all. That is all the evidence I have to present to the Supreme Court today. Thank you, Mr. Gallant. We will take the substantial evidence you've provided into consideration. You may leave. I would like to have a closing word. This man cannot be allowed to be present to Sortland. The evidence is clear and we need to uphold the law. I have full confidence that this court will bring Anton Rain to justice.
How long have you been planning this?
Silence in the court. Thank you for your time.
Lucien rose up from his seat. With one last look back at me, he left. So he's just pissed off that I didn't make him the vice president, so that's good.
This court now summons Edith Agnock to present her evidence.
Who the hell is Edith Agnock? Chairwoman of the Central Bank of Sortland, Edith Agnock, entered the courtroom nonchalantly and took her seat.
Thank you, Your Honor.
She whispered to me quietly from the table opposite mine.
I'm sorry, Anton. I really am. I'm just a messenger.
I didn't reply to her. I don't even know who this lady is. She turned her attention to the papers in front of her.
I am here at the request of a person who shall not be named to present this incriminating evidence against the President of Sortland.
Does the person who granted you with the right to present evidence in his or her stead wish to remain anonymous before this court?
Yes, Your Honor.
Very well, permission granted. This court will respect the anonymity of the witness.
Thank you. That seems like bullshit.
The summary of the evidence I've provided to the court is as follows. There has apparently been a deal between Mr. President Marcel Conti and Mr. Conti's villa in Conriat. Mr. Conti agreed to use media to support the President's rhetoric in exchange for protection against various government policies that could otherwise target his company. The evidence includes a voice recording by the security personnel in the villa. The government privatization program is supposed to open the shares of privatized companies to the public. Instead, a backroom deal was struck and these shares were transferred to Marcel Conti. This is the end of my summary. The evidence is well documented and proven to be the truth according to the files provided by my anonymous client.
That's probably, the dude who I didn't give the shares to. She pulled out a very large stack of papers that she could barely carry and put it on the table with a loud thud.
This is a very concerning report. Thank you for presenting the evidence, Miss Agnock. You may leave the room.
Edith collected her belongings and left the courtroom, not looking back at me as she did so.
All evidence has now been presented in the courts. We will now proceed with the defendant. In light of these allegations, what do you have to say for yourself?
Oh boy, okay. Does it even matter at this point?
Let the record show the President has refused the opportunity to defend himself. This court will now proceed with the final evaluation of the evidence before announcing the verdict.
I mean, it was clearly a guilty verdict before I walked in, so... Justices all stood up and left the room. I started thinking about my life up to that point. Where had it all gone wrong? Half an hour passed. Where the hell are the justices? After nearly an hour of excruciating waiting, the door opened again. The justices took their seats to deliver the final verdicts. I took a deep breath. It's like the end of the game. I guess we'll find out here. Yep. 1958, Supreme Court of Sortland. The gavel was tapped 2 times. Nurse Hawker demanded silence in the loud room. After a long pause, he ordered everyone to rise. One of his retainers handed him the letter with the verdict. Orso opened it with a barely suppressed smile. Knowing what was coming next, you felt that you... Yeah, like I said, it was a guilty verdict before you even entered the room. I mean, yeah, sure, we probably did those things, but some of that evidence was absolutely faked, and they were just after me. So, yeah, did my best for Sortland. Next words you heard were, "It is hereby decided that Anton Rain is impeached from office." Crowd in the courtroom, the very same people who celebrated your inauguration, erupted in cheers. Thought about how you go down in history as the first impeached president of Sorland. But the judge wasn't done speaking. For the magnitude of his crimes against Sorland, Anton Rain is sentenced to life in prison. The crowd cheered even louder this time. Security officers grabbed your arms and started walking towards the door. As you're walking, you yeah, fuck it. Declare that you take revenge. 1959, Ansel Rock Prison. Your cell was cold and lonely. The only decorations you put on the damp, dark walls were photos of Frank and Diana. For a while, reading was the only thing you could do. After finishing the precious book sent by Monica, you kept yourself busy by writing your own memoir. Meanwhile, your family visited you at least once a month. Time flies in jail. 1964. Frank visited you for the first time in years, bringing along his wife and son. They reminded you of your family and better times. You held your grandson for the first time. He squirmed and started crying in your arms. Frank told you that he joined the ranks of the People's Freedom and Justice Party. You told him not to get too deep into politics. Alright, 1968. It had been months since Monica's last visit. In the middle of the night, the ward knocked roughly on your door and told you had visitors. Frank, his wife, and Diana were waiting for you with teary eyes. Something was wrong. Seeing you, Diana quickly turned around, hiding her face. Frank couldn't hold his tears anymore and told you that his mother had passed away. His mother, your wife, Monica. You were overcome with grief. You returned to your cell, numb and exhausted. Every passing second was torture as you rotted away in this dark, isolated hellhole. Lying down on your bed, you looked at your belt and the metal pipe in the ceiling. Just don't do it. 1976. You spent the rest of your life between four walls. Eventually, old age caught up with you. You were discharged from prison to the hospital to spend your last moments with your family. As you took your last breath, you grabbed Frank and Diana. You pulled them close and said, "I regret nothing." Frank and Diana started crying and hugged you. You could feel yours slipping away. Your eyes filled with tears and started to close, never to be opened again. So Anton Rain was no more. Brilliant. Okay. Interesting. Let's look at our stats here. Fourth president of Swordland. Okay, none of that there matters. So, during our presidency, 2.2 million people found a job. 82% less maternal deaths were reported. During protests, 2 billion ren worth of public property damage was done. 821 arrests were made. 779 people were killed during the clashes between Red Youth and Young Swords. 102,000 conscripts joined the workforce. 4,390 people with British descent were jailed and 559 were killed. That's interesting. Investigations were launched on 311 state officials. 11,340 domestic violence cases were reported. 409,784 jobs were created by four largest companies of Sortland. And 259,498 students left secondary education without graduating. Interesting. So, we were a centrist reformist and did absolutely nothing. Show source politicians. Okay, so we were like on the same page as Arthur Vesey, the first president. Vader Vector was somehow right smack in the middle. That's interesting. This graph is kind of weird. Okay. Interesting. Alright. Let's hit finish here. See if anything else pops up. Cool. Alright, so that's obviously the end of the game. That was interesting. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to do another playthrough of this, or if I do, I don't know how quickly it'll be, but definitely learned some interesting things to try out if I ever do play it again. Definitely do a few things differently. But I mean, honestly, it's just a blind playthrough, so I kind of just did what felt right at the moment. Yeah, if I do it again, I'll probably follow a guide and try to get to an actual specific ending instead of just seeing what happens. But yeah, no, that was fun. That was a pretty decent game, especially for a couple bucks or whatever I paid for it. Definitely worth it. So yeah, thank you very much for sticking with me through to the end here. Definitely appreciate it, and see what happens next. So, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you all next time.